We are facing a giant identity crisis in our world today, and it's affecting everything that we do. It's time to figure out our identity. Hey, welcome to the Purpose Project podcast. My name is Brandon Goff. I get to be your host for this amazing project and podcast. I also get to be the lead pastor of Radiate Church in South Carolina. So really excited that you jumped on today. We're going to begin today a series of talks called REALationships, building real relationships in life. As a 42-year-old male in life, adult relationships can be difficult, and I hear this from all kinds of people. So I just kind of wanted, as we're entering into the month of love, if you will, to really look at all relationships, not just romantic ones, and figure out, all right, if we're all created with purpose and on purpose from God, what does that look like, and how do we build relationships throughout life and unlock the purpose God has on the inside of each of us in community and in relationship? One of the greatest things I believe that will short circuit your purpose in your journey in unlocking your purpose and becoming everything God has for you is this one thing: is not knowing your identity. Not knowing your identity. When you don't know your identity, you'll find it anywhere, and you'll copy others. You'll chase other things just to find some identity, because everything we do, everything you do, everything I do, flows from the core of where we find our identity. When we know our identity, what happens is we become more confident. We're bolder. We take more risks in life. And honestly, when we know our identity, we'll even love others better. We'll love others well, because we have a sense of core. We have a strong foundation of who we are. I believe, I'm going to say this boldly because I truly believe this. I believe that there's a strategic attack on identity in people today. The Bible is very clear in John chapter 10, verse 10, that Jesus has a full life for us to live. And before he makes the statement, I came to give life and life to the fullest, he says, there's an enemy after your soul, and the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. But I came to give you life and life to the fullest. That's John 10:10. And the reality is if we're going to walk in that fullness of life, we have to understand that there is an enemy that wants to destroy us, that is coming after our souls, wanting to steal, kill, and destroy. And I truly believe with everything inside of me that a lot of that tactic and strategy is found in the attack of our identity. If we can walk in the confidence, I believe the enemy knows that if we can walk in the confidence of who God created us to be and who we are and we're created to be at our core, it makes us better spouses. It makes us better leaders. It makes us better children of God. It makes us better friends. It makes us better people. I truly believe that whenever we really know our identity, what happens is we walk in a boldness that isn't there whenever we're searching instead of walking. And what I really want to see is all of us walk in the realization and in the confidence and truth of who we really are. I think we can unlock the purpose God's put on us whenever we really embrace our identities. The attack on our identities as humans, honestly, began all the way back at the beginning of time at the Garden of Eden. In Genesis chapter 1, there's this statement in Genesis 1:26. There's all the creation days, right? And then in 1:26, he says, let us create man in our image. Let us create him in our likeness. So God comes and he goes, hey, we're going to create man. I want to create man. And I'm not just going to throw dust together and do the LeBron James, a baby powder thing where the dust just goes in the air and settles. And he goes, no, I'm going to purposely and powerfully construct man in our image, in our likeness. In other words, in the beginning, man was created to carry the characteristics of God. You are not God. Don't get that wrong. You are not God. You are not created to be God. None of us are God. but we're we're created to carry the characteristics and the likelihood and even the image, the look of God. We were created from Him, we were created by Him, and we were created with His purpose in mind. So think about what would happen if we walked in that confidence and that boldness every single day of our life. And we walked around into our workplaces, we walked into our homes, we walked into our friendships, wherever we are. And we said, you know what? I know my identity. I know what I was created for and who I was created by. And it's God and God alone. Nobody else decides that for me. And can you imagine the boldness that would step up? Can you imagine the confidence that would take place if we really walked in that? Because if you don't know who and whose you are, you'll never become all that you could be. I'll never become all I could be. You'll never become all you could be if I don't know who I am and I don't know whose I am. Because here's why. This is a reality. This is a truth. Your validation and your identity is not found in what? It's found in who. It's not found in what? It's found in who. What always changes? What always changes? Jobs change, possessions change, bank accounts change, relationships change, right? All that stuff changes. So when my identity is based on a what, then my identity is always going to shift and change. Why? Because I'm basing my core, I'm basing my confidence, my boldness, and who I am. I'm basing it on changing dynamics. What changes? Who is eternal? When it's based on God, when I understand I was created from the beginning, I was created by God, I was created with a purpose, that's eternal. That doesn't change. That stays the same. So now the circumstances don't shake who I am. Why? Because the what changes, but the who doesn't. And I'm grounded in the who. And so when my identity is in who He is and who God created me to be, I can walk in a boldness and in a purpose that really changes everything. Now watch this in chapter 2. All right, so we talked about chapter 1, He creates man in His image and in His likeness. And in chapter 2, God strategically creates for the man a helpmate, creates a woman, right? They have reign over all the garden except one tree, right? And he says, hey, don't eat from that tree. Don't mess with that tree. Leave that tree alone. I'm clearly summarizing the story and speeding it up a little bit. But I do want to say this. The tree wasn't about limiting them. It was about giving them free will to be obedient and free choice. Because after all, it's not obedience if you don't choose it. It's forced obligation if you don't choose it. And God said, hey, don't touch that. I want you to choose to walk in obedience and faithfulness, right? And let me keep going because I don't want to camp out on that too much. So chapter 2, you got the creation of woman. And then in chapter 3 is where the serpent shows up and tempts Eve. And the serpent convinces Eve to take a bite of the fruit from the tree that she was supposed to leave alone. Now, she has this conversation with the serpent. She tries the fruit, and then she calls Adam over. She's like, hey, babe, you need to try this fruit. It's the best fruit ever. Here's why you need to try it. It's amazing. I've taken a bite. You take a bite. Serpent said it was good, whatever. And thus, sin enters the world and begins the course of struggle with sin and eternity, sin and holiness for all of us from then on, right? But here's the kicker. The kicker in this whole story with identity is this: how the serpent convinced them to eat the fruit. How? He said, for God knows that in the day you eat from it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. He said, if you eat the fruit, the only reason God doesn't want you to eat the fruit is because you'll be like God. That's it. You'll be like God if you do it. Now, did you catch that? Watch this. What did God say in Genesis 1:26? Let us create man in our image. Let us create him in our likeness. So a whole chapter goes by, serpent shows up and goes, God just doesn't want you to be like him. Here's my point. There was such an attack that the serpent created enough doubt about their identity and their core that it caused them to reach for something they never should have grasped to begin with in order to become something that they already were. He said, listen, God just doesn't want you to become like him. They were created in his image. They were created in his likeness. He got them to doubt their identity. Let me ask you this question. Have you ever been in a place to where your identity has been in such an attack? You've been so insecure, so unconfident, like, I just don't know who I am. I don't know what I stand for. I don't know what I like. What you name it, but your core is at an attack. What happens? You're at a weakness. In those moments of doubt, you're at a weakness, man. You're easy to attack. You're easy to offend. It's easy to give up. It's easy to walk away. It's easy to go, man, this purpose is just not worth the effort. This call is not worth it. Whatever it is, right? And what happens is when our identity comes under attack, we begin to get real sensitive. And it's because there's a doubt at our core. Their identity was under attack, and unfortunately, it worked. Now, here's a correlation. Watch this. Later in the Bible, in the New Testament, Jesus is in the wilderness after some fasting and praying time. Satan shows up. He picks the wrong guy to mess with. Satan shows up and he begins to tempt Jesus in the wilderness. Okay, so Jesus is in the wilderness, fasting, praying. He's hungry, tired, all this stuff. Satan shows up at a moment of weakness and begins to tempt Jesus. And he begins to tempt him to take shortcuts to success. Hey, if you do this, you'll have food right now. If you do this, you'll have possession. If you do this, you'll have authority. All this stuff, right? Protection. All these things that begin to take place. And Satan begins to tempt Jesus. But before each temptation, Satan says this: if you are the Son of God. So it's a key phrase. He says, if you are the Son of God. If you are, some translations say, if you are the Son of Man. Here's what he's doing. Do you see what he's doing? He's attacking identity yet again. He's saying, hey, here's the identity of who you are at your core. Let me create doubt there. If I can create doubt in your identity, I can create a weakness so that you fall. Now, it didn't work this time. It worked with Adam and Eve. It didn't work with Jesus. Why? Jesus fought back with truth. He fought back with the truth of Scripture, and he stood strong. He repeated Scripture back, and he stood in truth. So I want to talk to you for a moment, just a moment longer, about the idea that there might be some people that are in these relationships. Relationships are hard. Co-worker relationships, friendships, marriages, whatever. I don't think you'll ever become everything God created you to be solo or in relationship. Watch this. Until we have a strong sense of identity. I think that's the core thing here. So if you're struggling with your identity today, if you're struggling with confidence, security in who God created you to be, all these things, if you're struggling with all that, I want to encourage you for a moment. I want to encourage you today. Number one, I want to encourage you with this. Who you are is more important than what you do. Who you are. I know you're like, you don't even know if I'm listening to this. You don't even know my story. You don't know me. I don't need to know that who you are at your core is more important than what you're doing. It's more important than anything you accomplish. Don't find your identity in accomplishment. Many of us find identity in accomplishment. We don't feel like we've done anything or are anybody in life until we've accomplished something. I'm not worth anything. I'm no good. I haven't grown anything. My bank account doesn't say I don't own this. I don't own that. I'm not a CEO. I just need you to know something. Your identity is not an accomplishment. Your identity is not in a relationship status. I know we're coming up on February. And if you're not dating somebody, if you're not married, it can be a lonely season. I need you to know that your identity is not in a relationship status. Your identity is not in financial gain. Your identity is not on things and stuff, but your identity is in the one that created you. He gave you your purpose. He gave you your identity. He loves you that much. You are not an accident. You are not by chance. God created you very strategically and very purposely. I know we hear these things sometimes. We're like, well, that's elementary. I've heard that. Sometimes as adults, we just need to hear that. I am not what I do. I'm more important than that. Who I am is more important than what I do. Here's another encouragement for you today. You matter to God and you matter to others. Listen, I know I say this every episode. In fact, I actually say it all the time. And it's because I mean it. You really do matter. Sometimes our minds and our circumstances can convince us that we don't really matter. or that nobody really notices us, that there's no value in what we do, and people just take advantage of it. We can create this victim mentality real fast, right? And all these things can happen, but I promise you, somebody loves you. I promise you, somebody notices. I promise you, you matter to God. You matter so much to God that He created you strategically and purposely. He showed that through the extreme purpose in which He created you. And you matter to others. There's family, there's friends, there's church community, there's work community, there's others that you matter to. You're never actually really alone. I know circumstances and moments can make you feel alone. I promise you, you're not. You matter to God and you matter to others. And here's a third final encouragement for you today. I just want you to be confident in you. Be confident in you. Be the best you can be. There's something that happens when you become confident in who you are at your core. Not stuck in your ways, right? Like not creating excuses to just stay stuck and how I've always been, but you're confident in God's call on your life. You're confident in God's purposeful creation of your life and your identity as His kid before anything else. There's something that happens whenever you become confident in who you are. You begin to throw your shoulders back a little bit and hold your head up a little bit higher. You begin to have a little bit more boldness and confidence and security about the way that you carry yourself and the way that you talk. You know that He's gifted you to do something great and you're going to be good at it. And you walk around and you just know, I'm loved at my core. I may get it wrong sometimes, but I'm still loved. I just want you to know you matter. You have a purpose. God loves you and you can be confident in that. And walk in confidence. One of the greatest things that can come against your purpose is your confidence. Man, walk in confidence. I can't wait to jump back on here with you next week and continue this REALationships conversation about building real relationships and in life and with friends and even in marriage. We're going to have a conversation about that. My wife's going to join me and all this stuff, right? It's going to be great. I can't wait to jump on there. But I believe that when we learn to love ourselves, we can love others even better too. And so today, I hope we took a step in the right direction towards creating some confidence in our identity and who we are. Now remember, you matter, you have a purpose, and now you get to go change the world. I'll meet you right back here next week.